Hey, what's up everyone? So I'm just getting the bike prepped up for a ride tomorrow because it's Saturday, and Saturday cyclists typically go for rides, whether you're a weekend warrior or just someone who wants to get some miles in. So what I like to do is just always prep the bike the night before. So I'm gonna just go over a quick checklist on some of the things I like to do to make sure my bike is running and also just my body is ready to go. I may not be able to show you all the items that I have and that I'm going to be using, but for what I have on hand here right now, it's enough information to give you what you need to get you set up for success for a ride. If you're like me and have a couple of choices, and fortunate that you do, you can either go with a road bike or you can go with a gravel bike. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a road ride, and I'm looking to get some nice base miles in. So what I'm going to do is just make sure everything is fine-tuned. Number one thing you want to make sure is that your chain is properly lubed. I already cleaned my bike just a little bit ago. Oftentimes you're going to get a lot of grit and dirt on your chain, and having a clean drivetrain is the best thing you can do for your bike. It's going to make your shifting much smoother and clean. You'll be able to go from the small ring to the big ring with ease. So you just want to make sure your chain is clean. What I like to do is degrease it first and get all the gunk and dirt out the way, and then just throw some nice dry lube on there, depending on your climate where you're located. You might like wet lube if you're in a different type of climate, but what you want to do is make sure that chain has no grit on it. As you can see, I am just rubbing my finger across it, and you can see that there is no dirt, and that's because I degreased the chain and made sure that there were no dirt and gunk on it or any kind of grit that's going to make it hard for your shifters to actuate when it's time to shift gears. And that's for the front and the rear. And you also want to make sure your front derailleur is also clean, and your rear derailleur. What I like to use is this Muck Off C3 ceramic lube. It's been my go-to lately in the hot Florida climate here. And it's been keeping my chain really nice and smooth in terms of shifting, and clean as well. However, when it does rain, it can really mess things up a little bit, of course, like all chains, but so far so good. The next thing you want to do is spin your wheels in the front and the rear. You want to make sure you don't hear any weird noises, and if you do, you might want to just take them off and just grease them up. And that, what you can do with that is, depending on your wheel set, you can grease the hub bearings. And what I like to use for that, I'm just going to go to my tool chest over here. I like to use this stuff here by Chris King. It's a silver grease. You can see you can use it for either hubs or bottom brackets. I like to just remove my axle and just pop a little bit inside with inside of the hub and inside of the bearings as well, and the axle and all that good stuff. You can do that by just, if you have a quick release like I do with my road bike, it's gonna be relatively easy. You just basically pop this out and then just remove the entire axle. I also want to make sure that my brakes are nice and smooth. You can see here, these are the Bontrager brakes. And again, what I like to do is just degrease the entire moving parts on my bike. So I degrease the bolts over here, the spring, and make sure that that's no gunk or dirt in there, and no gunk or dirt in here either. Again, just you want to make sure that your bike is well tuned. Check the bolts. Make sure your drivetrain is clean. When you spin that back, that should be nice and smooth, and you will know when it's smooth. You want to check your air tire pressure. I use this pump here by Lazine. It's a nice floor pump. I pump about 90 to 100 psi depending on the day and how I feel. I'm generally closer to 100. I like tires to be fully filled in. One thing I did not mention that I don't want to leave out is your flat repair kit. You want to make sure you have everything in here. In fact, let's just go ahead and open this up quickly so I can show you what I have inside of mine. And what I have in here is just an extra tube. I have a Pedro tire lever. I swear by these tire levers, they're so good. And underneath that, I packed a few patches, a TB2 Part 2 tire boot, and glue and everything else I need. I always put that in here first, and then I pack everything else on top of it, just like so. In this little pouch here, I have a CO2 cartridge, and I also have a CO2 adapter here that just screws onto it. And this is also by Lezine. And these are the 16 gauge Crank Brothers, which I like. I've been using those since the beginning of time. So now in terms of cleaning supplies, I like to use this stuff here. It's by Muck Off. It's their cleaner, their bike cleaner. It's certified for the bike cleaner, and it's actually really good. And a little bit goes a long way. Once I degreased everything, I just wash it down with clean water, and then I just spray the bike all around and just let this sit for a few minutes before I start to wash anything. In terms of scrubbing the bike, I use these Park Tool kit. It's got a little bit messed up from cleaning the drivetrain, but this is really good for scrubbing down the chain and the drivetrain, the rear cassette, and also the derailleurs. And this is a nice little soft brush, which is good for the frame, and you can also get in between a lot of the little small parts and just get a lot of that little gunk out of there. And a toothbrush. This is really good for getting inside of the little cogs on the rear derailleur, and also inside of the brake where there's like a spring, depending on your brake system. That's gonna definitely come in handy. You wanna make sure your computer's charged. I'm using the Wahoo Roam, and this is gonna charge by USB-C. So you just wanna make sure this is charged up before your ride in the morning. So definitely just plug this in overnight, the night before, and then just let this go to 100%. I've been on rides before where I forgot to charge my second computer, and unfortunately, wasn't able to record all of the ride because it died about halfway in. So just make sure that's charged. You're not going to be able to do it in field, and who wants to charge a second computer in field anyway, because you're going to be losing time, you're going to be losing miles, you're going to get comfortable wherever you are in Starbucks with your coffee, and you're going to be like, all right, I'll just take an Uber home from here. So just make sure this is charged, and you'll be good to go. Let's talk a little bit about what to put inside of your bottles. So I like to fill my bottles up with this stuff here. This is Scratch Labs Sport Hydration, and it's really good. It's just like the strawberry lemonade, sugar. It's just sugar. You can probably make your own at home, but this is really easy on my stomach. I've been using Scratch Labs for a long time. Not sponsored, but just I purchased this obviously with my own money, and I just a true believer in that. It's really good. All the ingredients in the back: cane sugar, dextrose, sodium citrate. All this stuff is going to help you when you're doing big rides, especially endurance rides. It's going to help you with your electrolytes that are lost, so you just want to make sure you have that in your bottles. I usually throw, if I'm going on really big rides like I probably will tomorrow, I'll put 2 scoops in each bottle, sometimes even more. I'll pack a couple of salt tablets, because here in Florida it gets really hot, so salt is going to help with any type of cramping. And also I like to just fuel up that morning with beetroot powder inside of a cup of water, stir it up, throw it down. These are some of the items here that I'm going to be packing inside of my jersey while I'm going on rides. I usually like to just have, like, during this, if I really need it, a few of the Cliff Blocks. I usually pop like 2 of those if I'm starting to like feel awkward, meaning if I'm starting to just like, if I need a little burst of energy. And then I have a few gels here. These are pretty nice. The SIS, I'm not sure if that's cis, I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Forgive me and quote me if I'm wrong in the comments, but these are pretty sweet. They go down pretty easy. They're energy plus caffeine, so it's gonna be a big punch of energy with just one of these. They're usually for my emergency, because generally what I like to do is eat actual food while I'm riding. And in terms of food, I do want to share this book with you. It's called Feed Zone by Scratch Labs. It has a lot of great recipes inside of it. And again, I'm not sponsored by Scratch, but I am a huge advocate of health and wellness and fitness overall when it comes to fueling yourself for rides. So I'm gonna highly recommend getting this book, because it will help you and guide you along your journey in terms of how you want to fuel your body optimally for rides, especially if you're doing big ones with groups, or if you're going by yourself on a long ride. You want to make sure you can pack in some real food. You can do this from the comfort of your own home if you have all the ingredients. So definitely check that out. One of my favorites in here is one of their egg sandwiches, and it's super easy to make. And you can wrap it in some foil and just throw it in your jersey pocket and just have it along the way throughout your ride, or when you get hungry. Especially it comes in handy if there aren't a lot of services around where you need to stop. So just having all that packed on the bike is just good to go. Depending on how many hours you're gonna be putting in, you wanna bring enough of these types of gels here that's gonna help you get throughout an entire ride. And what I've been using also is this RX bar, which is pretty nice. I rode with this while I was in Colorado just a couple weeks ago, and it's pretty good. It has a little bit of protein, good amount of 12 grams of protein actually. Dates, which is going to be a good amount of sugar. That's going to get you up through your ride, and egg whites as well. So you get some protein in there to help you just replenish some of that muscle tissue that's going to be being used a lot throughout your ride. Also, what I like to do is bring some dried fruit. Personal huge fan of apricots, so I have some packed in the kitchen. So I'm going to be throwing some of those inside of my jersey as well. And yeah, that's just about what I like to bring. Let me know what you like to bring for your rides in terms of what you like to eat, fueling your body and things like that. I hope this video offered some value, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you like to do in terms of preparing for the ride the next day. I hope I covered everything in terms of my nutrition properly for you, and if I missed out anything, I will either make another full video. But this is gonna help you prepare for your ride so that you don't leave anything at home. You wanna make sure your body's fueled the night before. You wanna get in as many carbohydrates as you can, healthy carbohydrates, of course, so that you'll be nice and feel good when you're riding on your bike the next day. A clean bike is a fast bike, and a clean body is a healthy body, and also a working body. So hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.